All right. Good evening, everybody. We'll just wait a couple seconds to a minute here on this week's Facebook Live with Mubarak Law. Today is September 24th, 2020, and I'm very excited about our guest and to continue to educate our viewers and our community about the different options of care that are available to you. And I will introduce our guest in just a few minutes as we wait for people to join. And once we get started, we'll also have some very important updates for you and even a big mistake that has happened with immigration that I think is worth discussing with you all that has impacted about 700 cases here in the district. So give us a few seconds and then we will get started, okay? All right, so today's program, we're going to have Dr. Mina Mikhail with us. He is a good friend of mine and a very experienced chiropractor here in Central Florida. But as usual, we do have a script to follow. So I'm going to give you all an update that is very important as to what's going on. So the immigration courts, as you know, have opened as of September 14th. However, they are not doing what's called master calendar hearings. These are only hearings right now for individual hearings. So if you have a final merits hearing, you will go to court. Additionally, there was a huge mistake or mishap that happened with USCIS where about 500 to 700 cases received 2 interview notices with immigration, one in Orlando and one in Tampa. I was on the phone with the supervisor here in Orlando for about 30 minutes today, and she explained that if you have your interview in Tampa and you are an Orlando applicant, you should go to the Tampa interview. If you can't make it to the Tampa interview and there was a second interview scheduled in Orlando, then you would attend that interview. However, my suggestion would be try to finish it as fast as possible, make the drive to Tampa and resolve the case. If it gets delayed in the transfer, you might be finding yourself in a big delay that's taking several months. We're going to ask you all to follow us on social media, please, and subscribe to our YouTube channel. This Facebook Live will be posted to our YouTube channel, so please look for it there. And I'm going to give you guys some background information about our special guests today. So Dr. Mina graduated from Logan University, and he was trained in chiropractic sports field. So he was able to work with many elite athletes and fine athletes, and I think it gives him a unique perspective on how he treats with individuals. And this is how what I want to hear about it today, because there's all sorts of treatments available. He is licensed and certified in the state of Florida. And, you know, his mission is to grow practice, to open the door to everybody, regardless of their ability to pay. And I think that is a very noble goal to have and to make sure that he is able to provide care. So without further ado, I'm going to welcome my friend and our special knowledgeable guest, Dr. Mina. And welcome, Dr. Mina. How are you?
Mubarak, I'm so glad to be here with you at the Facebook Live today. I'm doing well.
Yes, you and I did this maybe a couple years ago together on maybe your channel or another channel, and we did questions in Arabic. And so I'm happy to have you on our channel today. So thank you for agreeing to it.
I'm happy to do it. Thank you for hosting me.
Okay, Dr. Mina, before we get started, I wanted to see if you could share some of your background with us. What is your ethnicity or origin, if you'd like to share with that? And what made you want to get involved with chiropractic care?
So I'm originally from Egypt. I was born and raised in Egypt, and I came to the U.S. after completing high school. I started undergraduate here, and I completed my graduate program here in the U.S., and I graduated from Logan University. It's a chiropractic school in Chesterfield, Missouri. I'm so proud to graduate from that school. It is one of the top chiropractic school, and I was fortunate to train under the sports chiropractor of the year at the time, and I got an excellent experience in the sports field. I was fortunate to learn from many top-notch doctors at my school, and I got a chance to learn under them in the sports area, and I
What
got
kind of what kind of sports or athletes did you treat?
uh,
Field?
we were fortunate to participate in a lot of sports such as track and field, disabled rugby, disabled basketball players, and we were fortunate also to treat players at Mizzou, um, and among also many of the high school athletes at the university. And I was also fortunate enough to be the first in my school to do an international internship or a preceptorship. I did mine in Egypt, and I got a chance to also treat some of the fine athletes at the Premier League in Egypt, the Soccer Premier League.
That's awesome, and really great opportunity for you to see how care is done back home for you in Egypt, and how it's done here, where you've been spent probably the majority of your life as well. And what was you think was the most unique or common item you've seen in the care between Egypt and the U.S.?
Um, it's a new concept as far as chiropractic care in Egypt. Not many people are familiar with it, so it takes a lot of education about what chiropractic care is and how it can help people there.
We probably need it the most too. I know the first time I had my alignment done, it was you really feel everything just kind of come off that you've been carrying. So I think people should give it an opportunity. And I think you're going to share with us the different types of treatments that are available if you are hesitant to do some type of alignment. And I don't want to get ahead of ourselves there.
We'll talk about it.
Yes, we'll get to it. So those who are joining us, this is our weekly Facebook Live every Thursday at 6:30. We're going to try to bring on a chiropractor or somebody from the medical field every month to help you guys understand the medical aspect of a personal injury claim. So with that being said, I'm just going to give some background. Let's say, God forbid, you are in a car accident. In the state of Florida, you have 14 days to seek treatment. If you do not seek treatment within these 14 days, you are going to lose the opportunity to bring forward a personal injury claim. Now, this is really important because it can take several days, if not weeks, before you can actually feel the results of the accident. And Dr. Mina is going to explain why that is. So in order to protect your claim legally, first and foremost, you must seek treatment within 14 days. Dr. Mina, why does it take several days for people to feel some of the impacts and the effects that has been caused due to an accident, such as a rear-end car accident collision?
So the most important thing here to relate to this question is that please, people, don't compare your injuries to a friend or a family member. Not everybody is going to react the same. Not everybody has the same muscle mass. Not everybody has the same conditioned or deconditioned status. So a 65 years old lady with osteoporosis will not respond to an accident the same way as somebody who is 20 years old, healthy, muscular. The impact can be different, even if it's a minor accident or an injury from an accident. Our response is going to be different. It depends also about the mechanism of injury. It also depends on how fast you were going or how fast you were hit in a car accident. So sometimes people would feel an immediate reaction to the accident, and sometimes it's a very simplistic question when people ask you, "Are you okay?"
Yeah.
You know, you're not a doctor, so you don't know the answer yet to that question. But they're just checking to see if you have anything so obvious, like if you have any broken bone or you're bleeding. The obvious things. But there's so many soft tissue type injuries, not to undervalue those. Those are very important injuries, like disc herniation, ligament laxity. Those are serious injuries as well that may not manifest until days or sometimes weeks after the injury.
And these soft tissue injuries can follow you for years, if not longer sometimes, after the accident. Is that correct? Or is it usually a temporary, just because soft tissue? Does that mean it's not going to be something that's going to be long lasting for the person who's been injured?
So a simple injury like a sprain or a strain injury, a grade 1 type of a sprain, these are simple injuries that can resolve quickly. But many times people who are injured in car accidents, they acquire more than just a simple sprain or a grade 1 sprain. They do get sometimes more serious injuries like disc herniations, disc bulges, uh, ligament laxity injuries, these kind of injuries. I'm talking about also the things that are managed conservatively, not the more advanced and serious injuries like a fracture. So the things that can be managed conservatively, these kind of injuries are serious and they can have lifelong consequences, and they are a permanent type of injury. So it will have some effect to your daily activities.
Yeah, and I really do appreciate that you said somebody asks you, you are not a doctor or they are not a doctor, so not to compare your results in your situation with that person, and really to listen to your doctor. It's super important. And just like we say, listen to your attorney. So I want to take a step back to kind of walk everybody through, like let's say we have a hypothetical, somebody's in a car accident. I know that in our office, typically we'll get a phone call and then they'll say, well, I'm not sure if I want to proceed. We inform the client and the caller that, personal injury cases, auto accident cases are contingency fees, so it doesn't cost them any money. And I know a lot of times after 14 days, we hear people tell us, that the reason they didn't seek treatment is that they didn't have money for an attorney. So you need to know that you don't have any upfront cost for retaining an attorney, especially with our office, that we will then represent you on contingency, which means if we don't recover for you, then we will not get paid and you will not owe us anything. So then you have 14 days to treat. You've been in an accident. Usually on day 2 or 3, they call back and say, okay, now I feel everything in my neck and my back. What do I do next? So Dr. Mina, do people come to you typically as the first time within their 14 days? They usually go to the ER first. What are some pros of cons with either, if you would share with us, as far as going to your general practitioner, a chiro, or an ER right after the accident?
So when people call us to come in for treatment, everyone comes in with a different scenario. So sometimes people will go to the ER immediately after an accident, and sometimes people will go up to the ER a day or two after the accident, and sometimes they are seeking care from an urgent care center. Sometimes they come to us directly. The most important thing is that if you feel extreme pain or you feel something really obvious, like you think you have broken a bone, or you are concerned because of your health history of and the nature of the accident of maybe internal bleeding or something like that, then definitely go to the ER right away. Now, if you're not feeling a lot of pain, or it's a manageable type of pain initially, and you decided to come to us, we will do an evaluation and review your health history, and we'll determine based on the exam what is the appropriate next step. And with personal injury type patients, or a patient involved in trauma or car accidents, those are the ones that are likely from the exam to require some kind of imaging. It may start with an x-ray. That's a simple start to see if there is any fracture, if there is any ligament laxity, if there is any dislocations, and then many times we also would need some kind of advanced imaging, such as an MRI. MRIs would show more the soft tissue, such as the disc structure. So we'll be able to tell from there if there's a disc bulge or disc herniation. And I'm talking about the spine now, but we also treat extremities. So if you have a problem with the shoulder or the knee or the ankle, we do occasionally get some injuries as well, in addition to spine injuries.
So my dad is asking you, hey, respected guest, can you help me fix my golf swing? I'm thinking that he probably needs some help. His friends will tell you that he needs some help with that. So maybe I'll have to send him to you and see if that's something that you can do. Now, you mentioned everybody has different injuries and they come in for an initial exam. When they come to you for that first appointment, what can our clients bring to make sure that they're prepared and you have the most information possible for you? Should they bring any past medical records, the report? What is it that you would like to see that clients have to be prepared for that first visit with you?
Okay, that's a good question. When somebody's coming to us initially as the first point of contact, if they have significant family history or health history or imaging from before, it's important to at least make note of that on the initial paperwork. Now, if you have some images of previous injuries, please bring a CD that will help us determine, what has happened before and what has happened recently from, and we can the injury that you got from an accident and how we can distinguish between these two injuries, what's new versus what was old. Um, if you have visited an ER or you have visited an urgent care center or your primary care doctor, at least remember where you went. So when we request those records, you know the name of the facility or the name of the doctor, so we can request those records. And if you have a physical CD with imaging, if ordered, then it's definitely that will be helpful to bring that in. And one important thing I would note on the initial paperwork, please be patient with the paperwork. It is long, but it helps document your injuries and it helps tell us what has happened during the accident and how it interfered with your daily activities, how it impacted your life, what areas are the areas of complaint. Don't miss anything when you're filling paperwork. If you have even minor pain for the low back, make sure you mention it. If you mention, for example, if your neck hurts so bad and your lower back doesn't hurt and you only list the neck, and then you want me to treat and examine and treat your low back 3 months after, insurance companies might question, is this really from the car accident or you hurt yourself playing golf or you hurt yourself playing soccer.
Right.
So make sure that it's documented on day one. You tell us. I personally asked for everything. You have any problem with your neck, mid back, low back, sacroiliac joints, upper extremity? You start with shoulder, elbow, wrist, hand, and then lower extremity. Do you have any problem with your hips, knees, ankle, toes? And then we basically go over everything so that at least we give you a chance to remember if you have any.
Yeah, and I think that is so important and so critical because, as we mentioned earlier, many of you won't feel certain pain the first day, but some of the injuries get worse. So you might forget about the neck tension when the shoulder starts to hurt you. So we ask all of our clients to keep a journal. As Dr. Mina said, go from the top of your body all the way through. Is it affecting the way you sit? Is it affecting the way you work or sleep or spend time with family? This is how, on the legal side, we calculate your damages when it's time to make a claim. And for the doctor, he needs to know where you're injured so he can treat you to make sure that you are getting better. Now, this treatment, is it expensive? Who typically pays when they come to you and they have an open car accident claim and with their insurance company?
So anybody injured in auto accident, their insurance responsible for paying for the medical care is the auto insurance. And in Florida, it's a no-fault state, which means that you have coverage under PIP regardless of fault. So even if you're the one causing the accident, you still have coverage from your PIP, which is the personal injury protection. And if you are not at fault, you still have that coverage. I
want to just touch on that. Even if you're not at fault, you still have coverage. A lot of time my clients said, well, why is my insurance being billed? Like, it wasn't my fault. Well, you carry personal injury protection for yourself. And this is typically a very common amount. You see $10,000. And this is to cover your medical expenses in the accident, regardless of what happened. Florida only requires by law personal injury protection of $10,000. It does not require bodily injury. So this means if you're in an accident, God forbid, la samahullah, you lose an arm or something tragic or catastrophic, and the other party does not even have bodily injury insurance, then there is no insurance money to claim from that side. So this is why I want to talk about or as what we call uninsured motorist insurance. Will make sure that you are protected. So regardless of whatever insurance policy the other person has, if they don't have insurance, your insurance will cover you for this. And we say in our office, if you love somebody, let them know to get It's really probably a couple dollars, $20, $50 more a month, but it will come in handy. God forbid you're ever in an accident. We live long lives these days. More likely than not, at some point, we will be involved in an auto collision, especially with our wonderful I-4 that we have here. Every day there's a new bridge or a new route, and it's understandable why these are having it here. Like, Dr. Mina, have you ever seen, an unfortunate incident where somebody is in an accident and then there's just nobody left to pay their bills? Like, they're just stuck with these huge amount of bills that if was there, they would have not had this issue.
It is actually more common than people think, because just like as you said, if somebody is a hit and run case and just collided with your car and ran, or collided and they were not carrying any bodily injury insurance, or they're underinsured, they caused way more damage than the insurance that they're carrying. They might be carrying just $10,000 of bodily injury, or zero, or hit and run. In that case, you would want to protect yourself and have uninsured motorists or underinsured motorists. That will be an additional coverage. And as you mentioned as well, this is a very good point, that the cost to add uninsured motorists and the cost to add MedPay, it's not that huge. The main cost comes in from the PIP, which is the mandatory coverage. And these are the things you want to make sure you have on your policy to cover yourself first.
Okay, thank you. So you've now talked about insurance. They've presented, you're billing their PIP, their personal injury protection insurance. We sometimes hate to see something called overtreatment, right? Or what is your methods, different options that you have that you would like to share with everybody today?
Okay. Good point too. The methods that we follow at the practice here are evidence-based treatments. So we integrate everything possible after we get the history and we perform the examination, and we send out for the appropriate imaging, and we determine what is wrong with that patient, what type of injuries. Then we start to formulate a treatment plan. The treatment plan can include things or treatments such as the chiropractic manipulative therapy, which is referred to as the adjustment. This can be done by hand. This is the most common form. A lot of people are familiar with the adjustment by hand, but there's also other a bit of a gentle types of treatments through tools like this one. So it's an instrument assisted adjustment. It's very, very gentle. And it can be adjusted to the appropriate intensity. This can help people who are in an acute type of phase that they cannot tolerate the manual adjustment initially. And it can also help the geriatric population as well when they're injured in an accident. So it's a very, very gentle form of manipulation.
Does that go along the spine?
Yes.
Okay.
It can adjust the extremities as well, extremities and spine. So just like you can adjust manually the joints of the spine and the extremities and the spine as well, all the joints and the vertebrae. Now, the main point here with the adjustments is there are different types, so not everything can be done manually. So don't be afraid if you don't like the manual adjustment. There are other methods that can be used and techniques to reach the same conclusion with less pressure from the high velocity, low amplitude type of adjustment. They refer to it as HVLA. Now, not everybody is candidate for adjustment, so don't come in expecting, yes, I'm going to get an adjustment on day one. So, as excited as you are, sometimes an adjustment may not be indicated in your case, or at least we should wait a little bit. Your pain level is too high. If we do an adjustment, you're going to be in much more pain. So, I postpone the manual adjustment. We might start with an instrument assisted, or in some cases, an adjustment is contraindicated. We should not be doing an adjustment in that area. It can be done in on different areas if it's not contraindicated in, like, for example, thoracic spine, lumbar spine, but we shouldn't do it on the neck. Now, aside from the adjustment, we integrate other passive and active treatments. We like to move quickly from the passive treatments, such as electrical stimulation, hot packs. These are the passive type of treatment. We can start with that initially, but we want to move you as quickly as you can to active treatments. We integrate a mix of a passive and active treatments through myofascial release, which is, think of it as an adjustment to the muscles. So it's manual mobilization to the muscles. We stretch those soft tissues that had trigger points and they're tight. Your body wants to form like a natural cervical collar for your neck to tighten up your muscles, which would limit your range of motion initially. This might be a good thing in the first week or two to limit your motion, give your body a chance to start the healing process, but you don't want to have a tight neck for a month.
When your body goes into defense mode, when you've been in an impact, this reaction sometimes is what's causing this soft tissue damage. And I do recall I was in an accident a few years ago, and I remember they couldn't adjust me because I was too stiff. You know, it was water treatment for a few days and just like hot bags to eventually let the muscle relax a little bit in order to actually get the spine. And I had actually forgotten about that till you mentioned it. So thank you for bringing that up. I saw on your website and when I visited your office, you have other cool methods of treatment and tape. What is that used for? I've always kind of been curious as the chiropractic tape, what happens with that? What's the idea behind it?
So speaking of tape, I love, I'm allowed to mention brands.
Okay. Yeah, no, I don't care.
I love this. This brand is called. I love this brand. It's called Rock Tape. It's one of the best kinesiology tapes around, and it sticks very, very well. It's one of the top brands. They come in different. Right here, they come in different stickiness levels. So there is a grade 1, 2, 3. The common one is 2, 3, super sticky. Like this one, it can stick for almost a week. The other ones, for people who don't handle the tape very well, there's a grade 1, very gentle, can be removed easily. They're latex free, so most people don't develop any reaction to
it. How does it work? Like, so you put the tape where? Like, what happens with that?
I'll go over it. So there is, for personal injury type patient, I'm doing the tape mostly to support the muscles. It actually sticks to the skin, lifts it up. It can also help drain lymphatics into the area. So when people, for example, get a bruise from the seat belt, sometimes if you actually go into our Instagram, there's an old post that show pictures of how it drains. Is one of the applications. It can drain the hematoma from the seat belt and drain lymphatics as well, which will help heal the injured area really, really quick. Within maybe 2-3 weeks max, it was almost gone when applied in a certain way. But for most of the injured areas in the neck and back and shoulders, we apply it in a way that supports the joint or the vertebrae so that the patient can move with less pain. It's not supposed to completely limit your range of motion, kind of like a cervical collar, for example. It's supposed to allow you to move with less pain. So when I give the patient's exercise at home, for example, to do and to continue what we're doing here, they're able to do it with less pain. They're able to continue their home and their work and social activities with less pain with the application of that tape. The tape does not have any medications in it, so that people sometimes get that wrong assumption that there is something that will leak
Like
in
medicinal. Okay,
more medication in.
what would you say? I know for us, I mentioned, attorneys really hate over treatment when somebody, the chiropractor or the physical therapy center, is over treating where it's not getting to the client any better. Uh, would you say uh, what is different about your office?
Awesome question. So we pride ourselves in doing progress exams every almost 30 days. Progress exam is a point of basically stop and check to see where the patient is progressing. It at a 30-day mark or 4 weeks, we do the same exam that we did on day one, and we see how the patient progressed. Is the patient better, same, or worse? If they are the same or worse, then we need to either change something in our treatment plan, maybe add a treatment option or remove a treatment option, or refer out for another intervention. So possibly we can add in a neuro or an ortho or a pain management doctor to give their opinion and possibly offer pain medication or injections. Um, if that is something that can help reduce the pain so you can continue to be more active and continue to do your rehab exercises, then that's a great thing that can help, get you back to your normal activities. Now, as far as the word over treatment, I do hate that because there are some clinics that I call factory clinics. Basically, every patient gets the same type of treatment, come in 3 times a week for 3 months, and they're basically not treating you, they're treating your insurance.
Right, they're just following a pattern regardless of what your injuries are and your recoveries are. And that, for us, when we go to make our demand, so for those joining us, we're talking about auto accidents and personal injury. And when we have the medical side with the wonderful Dr. Mina here, and when it's our turn to make a demand of the insurance company, we have to wait for the medical providers to clear the patient that they've reached their maximum recovery, or there's nothing further that we can do. We then calculate the damages, which include medical bills, lost wages, pain and suffering, and we make the demand. I'm not sure if you heard that was the church bell, and I can't believe we're already at 33 minutes. And I just want to touch on a few more things because you've talked about so many important aspects of treatment. So your office is in Fern Park?
Yes.
Okay. And what you mentioned your social media. What are some of your social media? Where can people find you?
You can find us on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube. If you just type in Mikhail Chiropractic or Mikhail Chiro, you should easily find us on those three. We are also on LinkedIn too.
Okay, you also mentioned, before I let you go, and thank you again for staying late after I'm sure it was a long day of work. For those who you mentioned are not comfortable with the standard chiropractic treatment, there might be other forms of treatment. What about for those who don't speak English or are not comfortable with other aspects of the chiropractor? What can your office provide for them?
So I also speak Arabic, and our office has somebody that speaks Spanish and has another person that also speak American Sign or do American Sign Language.
That's awesome.
So those are two options as far as language that we can help with. And our office is open a little bit late to accommodate for people coming in after work or coming in during their lunch. We're open 10 to 2 and straight to 11. Sometimes we offer some options on the weekend as well, on Saturdays. We do this as needed too.
That's wonderful. I'm so happy to hear that you have late appointments. One of our biggest complaints from our clients is they can't get out of work to make some of their appointments. Before we go, I just wanted to thank you again. I hope I can have you back here. I'm going to ask everybody to visit, MikhailChiro.com and his social media and support our local businesses here and our independently owned businesses. It's very important in these times. Next week, join us at the same time, the same place. Updates on immigration and personal injury. October 1st, next Thursday, you must have your applications for citizenship in before the price increases over $500. So if you are seeking to become a U.S. citizen, the fees are going from $725 to over $1,100 next week and must be postmarked by October 1st. So make sure you have your application up and running and ready to go. Dr. Mina, thank you so much. Thank you for those who joined us, and we'll see you guys here next week on Mubarak Law.
Thank you for having me.
Of course, my pleasure. Thank you.